we have a formula that tells us what are those aspects that actually push us to procrastinate. So let's talk about them, because if you become aware of those aspects, you can lower the probability of procrastination. And the great thing about it is that you will be able to identify when you are in the bubble of influence of those aspects. So you will be able to fight against them. So the first aspect is task urgency. We all know that if we have a deadline that is very close, we put all the work to get things done, most of the time, hopefully. So you can actually create artificial task urgency by breaking the project or the work you need to do apart. For example, if you have an exam in a month, see what are those topics that you need to work on and assign specific blocks of time that you will be working on them. And my personal recommendation is that you over-assign time for the work you need to do, because we tend to assign time like we are super efficient. Oh, no problem, I can do that in an hour. But the reality is that you will need 2 or 3 hours to do it. For example, on doing these videos, I always assign less time than I needed. I do much more takes, then I go into edition, and edition takes a much longer time than I thought. So I am learning about it, and I'm trying to assign bigger blocks of time. So a good rule of thumb is to multiply by 1.5 the time you think you need to finalize that work. Confidence is great, but this video took 3 times longer than planned to be finalized and published. So there goes for an example. And the other thing you need that actually adds an extra part of that formula, and I have tested this with clients and with teams in many projects, is to add accountability with frequent revisions on short cycles. What does that mean? It means that, for example, if you are studying for an exam, you have to declare to your parents or to your friends that you're studying with, I want to finish this topic tomorrow, that topic past tomorrow, and I'm going to report to you every day about it. That is a good way. It may be emotionally hard for you to do it, but it pushes you to add an extra layer of responsibility because you feel accountable towards other people. For the second aspect, that is surrounding distractions, you have to become aware about the things that distract you in your surrounding and try to move yourself to a place where you have less distractions. When I started working outside the office, I went to the public library at the beginning, before I had my own office, because it was a great place where I will not have the fridge, I will not have the TV with Netflix or any other distractions like 3 kids. If you cannot get away from your surroundings, you have to artificially block those distractions. And let me share with you how a client of mine created an artificial blockage of the distraction, an artificial bubble of focus, if I may call it that way, in a surrounding where he was always distracted all the time when he was in the office. He's a commercial director, and his desk was in the same floor in an open space with all his salespeople. And he was always distracted, he was always interacting with somebody. And he told me in the sessions that he didn't even have time to think about the business for the future more strategically. So we explore in his office which space he could use to basically hide from everybody else and have some privacy and block the interactions. And he went into an office that was used by, and he placed a sign outside that office saying from 8 till 10 in the morning, only urgencies. The funny thing is that many members of his team anyhow went to the glass window and knocked it or opened it.
Hey, can I ask you something?
And he trained them. He told them,
Can you read the sign?
Yes.
Is it urgent?
half of the time they will say,
Yes, it is urgent.
Tell me what's the problem about.
They will tell the problem. If it was not urgent, he will not give the reply, the response, the suggestion. He will say,
That is not urgent.
and if he identified that they could solve it,
And you could solve it yourself.
he will say. So he trained them. After a few months, he told me that he became much more productive. He became much more efficient doing the things he needed to do because of those 2 hours in the morning where he will not be distracted. And his team actually got trained, and they really didn't bother him with things that were not really urgent. So he created an artificial way to block the distractions, even though he stayed in the same very distracted environment. So sharing comments, how would you get away from your distracted environment, on how would you create an artificial blockage for those distractions. The third aspect is task expected value. And this has to do about how you see yourself in the future and how this task that you have at hand relates to that future you that you expect to become. If you have not thought about it, you need to do it. You need to think, who do I want to become? What do I want to achieve? You need to have an ambitious objective and align that objective with whatever you do. And you actually may do something that doesn't have anything to do with that objective or with that future version of yourself, but you can actually make a connection. My guess is that 90% of the people have to work in many things that are not related with that future self, but that work help you advance to that self in the future. It may give you the resources, it may give you experience, it may help you to make connections. You can always identify the benefits, the opportunities that emerge from doing whatever you're doing, even if that is not perfectly related. So you have to align whatever you're doing with that future self, with that ambitious objective you want to achieve. And then the fourth aspect is the self-confidence to do the task effectively and with agency. So the self-confidence you have to actually do the task. And we all have suffered this, for example, with a mathematical problem that you have no idea how to solve. It is actually a challenge. And we may not have the self-confidence to engage in a complicated task or just some familiar endeavor. And here we need to remember Carol Dweck's growth mindset that taught us that consistent effort will push you to become more comfortable with them. But on the way, be careful. It is easy to listen to the inner voices that will push you to procrastinate with useful stuff. And that useful stuff gets you into a rabbit hole of things that get you to non-functional and not useful things. So when you feel that you are not self-confident, that is a sign that you have to focus on solving that. And that you have to take the time and use whatever resource you have around to solve it. Now you have amazing artificial intelligence assistants on your phone, so you can actually advance some very complex things by talking to your phone. Explain to me what is the formula about X, Y, and Y.
The NZ curve doesn't have a single definitive
formula. It's a trend line on a graph representing the number of neutrons.
So the only way to solve the self-confidence about the task you're doing is to practice, is to engage with it and use your resources to solve it. Call whoever you need to call, use whatever AI you need to use, but move forward. So work on your task urgency, surrounding distraction, the alignment of the expected value you do with that future self or that ambitious objective you have, and practice and persevere so you rise the self-confidence about doing that task that you need to do to advance to that better version of yourself and to achieve that ambitious goal. Let me know about your challenges and what you want me to explore and research about to help you be more productive. See you in the next video. Ciao. And I have tested this, and I have tested this, I have tested this, and I have tested this. And I have tested this. Pablo, just stop it and start doing the next video.